heavens have opened and decided to rain like Noah's flood upon us. It took me 7 hours to get here. I was in outside Newcastle in Alnwick yesterday. Today it was just floods. There were no trains, and I was like, "But I've got to get to Jordan." Well, I'm here now, so thank you so much for coming. I'm Daliso, and I'm well aware I get my crowds from different places. Well, first of all, clap your hands, people who came to my last tour. What the African said. A little bit, glad you're back, This is my second tour here, ladies and gentlemen. And then clap your hands, people who know me from Britain's Got Talent. Clap your hands, people who know me from my radio show. Okay, so another contingent, right? I often try to guess. I look at people and like, you're radio 4, you're active. You know what I mean? Like, try to guess people just based on their faces. And then people who don't know me clap. You have no idea, you were dragged here. You didn't know what's going on. You are my favorite audience members. I hate to say it because you don't know if I'm going to be shit. You're just here on face alone. Well, don't worry, it's going to be a nice ride. All you need to know, those who have never seen before, is my name is Daliso Chaponda. I am a foreigner. I'm from Malawi in Central Africa. Oh yeah, the world's #1 supplier of Madonna babies. I've been living in the UK for a little while. I've been living here for about 13 years. And I still don't fit it. Don't drink alcohol. Didn't know till I moved to England. This is a personality flaw. British people are like, you don't drink, what's wrong with you, man? I've never envied it. I've never looked at someone drunk and thought, that's what's missing. If I could only piss myself. I get into moral dilemmas, because end of the night I can end up chatting up a woman who's been drinking. I'm a little sober. I have to ask myself, is she too drunk? If I take her home with me, am I taking advantage? So to be a nice guy, I have to be like a policeman, assess how drunk she is. My pickup lines are things like, can you walk in a straight line? Now blow on this. How many fingers have I hold? Just have to get that out of the way, because you should be very aware that it's not quite as clean as I am on television. So we'll be okay. It's like 14 and over, sometimes younger people sneak it. You're very welcome, but if you get traumatized, blame your parents for buying the tickets. All good. Now what do we have in the crowd? Clap your hands, people from Chorley. Okay, people not from Chorley, but British people. Woo! Okay. Any foreigners like me in the room? Anyone? Hello, in the back. Where are you from? You're from Namibia. Did they make you sit in the back? After what Rosa Parks did, you can sit in the front. Don't worry, it's okay. Hello, Namibia, my Namibia sister. How you doing? So do you live in the UK? Is this man next to you? Is that your visa? Well played! And where did you meet? In a pub! That's the British way. Oh, you're British now. You know what? They make us do all kinds of like citizenship tests and nonsense, ask you about William the Conqueror. They should just give you like a pub and a Greg's. You're ready to be British. Well, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you everyone for coming. I think we can all agree 2019 was a very divisive year. It was a very angry year. British people spent the whole year yelling at each other. I have to go back to Africa just to see what a stable government looks like. Crazy bastards! You were so angry with each other, and it was an interesting thing, because now you're out of the EU. But it's not done. It's a year of negotiation. And I'm not optimistic. Because I think whatever side you're on, whether you wanted to leave, whether you wanted to stay, I think we can all agree that the actual negotiation has been botched thus far. Because if you're making a negotiation, you don't ask for what you want, do you? You ask for too much and you negotiate your way down to what you want. Like, clap your hands, couples in the rooms. Couples. Okay, we've got a couple here. So what's your name? What are your names?
Emily.
Emily, what do you do with your life, Emily?
I'm a primary school teacher.
Emily, I'm a primary school teacher. Lovely job. What age do you teach?
7 and 8.
7. Oh, you got them cute. They're not quite yet bastards, but like, yeah, 7 and 8 is good. It's like 11 and 12 is when they start growing horns, right? Is that right? Yeah, well, 7 and 8, enjoy them while they're cute. Okay, so we've got Emily, school teacher, and
Nathan.
Nathan. What do you do, Nathan?
I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher. You're all teachers. Do you teach the same age?
No, I teach in a sixth form.
Sixth form. What's sixth form? I don't know.
16 to 18.
16 to 18. So you. Your classroom smells worse. It's like links and stuff. You know? Like, well, excellent. So the two teachers. How long have you been together?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. Okay. Let's say second year is coming up, right? Let's say you decide for your two, you want to suggest to Emily, hey, I think it's about time to have a threesome. You cannot just bring it up. You cannot just be like threesome, no, end of discussion. So what you got to do, you got to look at it as a negotiation. You got to aim high. You got to say, let's bring in 4 women and a go. Straight away, she's like, go? What go? What are you talking about? A go? No. The go is not for making love. The go is just for atmosphere in the background. A little bit of negotiation, maybe you get your threesome. So the same thing with the EU. Ask him to leave the EU. That's what you want to do. You should have aimed high. Should have started with, we want to leave the human race. But I'm loving it. I personally started dating a British woman, trying to get a citizenship too. Trying to follow your example. I'm trying. But it was a difficult relationship because she has got a child, not my kid. Now, has anyone here dated someone who's got a kid, not your kid? You've done it. Are you currently doing it? Did you do it in the past? In the past. Now, did you get along with your partner's kids at the time?
My child.
Oh, was your child, and you were taking how was it? Oh, yeah. It was okay. You get along with it. Look. You can't necessarily say the truth because you're next door. Like wink if it was a nightmare. No, well played for doing it because I'll tell you, it's a lot of responsibility. And you know, I told you what the turning point is when they stop being cute and they turn into demons. Her son was 13. Right? Evil bastard. She calls me one day because he's got in trouble. She's like, oh my God, Daliso, can you help me? He's just got in trouble at school. He's been waving a knife around. Could you do me a favor? Could you please just talk to him? Could you please just try to reach out to him? I think part of the problem is he's grown up without any positive male role models and he's ignoring me, Daliso. Could you please just talk to him? I said, hell no, he's got a knife. You talk to him. I'm getting stabbed for you. But jokes aside, it did get me thinking. I started trying to think about role models because she was like, he's not had any role models. And I was like, who are the role models when I was a kid? Now, I grew up in African countries. I grew up in Kenya, Malawi, Zambia, Swaziland, African countries. And it seemed like all of the role models we were told to look up to were generally politicians. It was look up to Nelson Mandela, right? Look up, huh? Yeah, he's worth it, Nelson! Right? Look up to Martin Luther King. It was always these inspirational figures. This is what I looked up to. And I traveled, and I saw other countries. It's different. Like when I was in Canada, it was mainly sports people. It was all the hockey players were like their heroes. Some places it's musicians. Like, so other than Namibia, is there anyone else not from the UK? Clap. It's just you and me. This is like Sixth Sense. We're going to be like, when I close my eyes, I see white people. Well, in Namibia, do you remember who did you look up to? Do you remember who were like the role models? Probably also Mandela, right? Yeah, probably also Mandela. Now the UK, let's ask the British people. In fact, let's make it more practical. Who's got children? Who's got children? So you've got children. Now, how old are your children?
Just one.
She's 12. Now, if you are trying to inspire your child, right? And if you're like, work hard, when you grow up, you can be just like blank. Who fits in the blank? Who is the British inspirational figure?
It's probably somebody off Love Island, isn't it?
Probably someone off Love Island. Well played. You know, I should go on Love Island. I'm telling you. But no, but that's funny who they look up to. But I'm just mean like who's like an inspirational figure like
David Attenborough.
Richard Attenborough. Attenborough's a very safe, good one. Two, because he somehow worked for the BBC in the 70s and hasn't been caught doing it. I think it's because he was mainly surrounded by animals, so there was no temptation. I think this was the situation. No, because look, I say it as a joke, but honestly, they keep finding out horrible things about everybody you used to look up to. Every week someone else goes down, and getting very careful to choose role models. You almost have to tell your kids, work hard and you can be like Attenborough. Terms and conditions apply. Just in case, because you don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, case in point, I decided to become a comedian. What did my family say? Work hard, you could be just like Bill Cosby. That one hurt. That one hurt too, because I think of the surprise factor, right? Because I don't think anyone saw it coming. Right, because he was like everybody's dad. He was like harmless. He would wear Christmas jumpers. He was like and as a black person, it hurt on another level because he was one of the positive black role models, right? He was always making inspirational speeches for young black youths. Whenever anyone said the N-word, he would say this was unacceptable. Little did we know the N-word he hated was no. And there've been a lot. When I was writing this show about blacklisted people, right? I thought I was going to do jokes about all of them, but I made a list. There's been 47. 47 people who, over the last 2 years, we found out, either musicians or politicians or actors, we found out something that we don't like or something embarrassing or something horrible about one of these people who used to be our heroes, right? And I was like, I can't talk about all of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just ask you, of all the people who we found out horrible things about, was there any that particularly surprised you the way, like, Bill Cosby surprised me, or bothered you, or amused? Just which one really got you? Clap your hands if you can think of one. Okay, I'll start with you two. Which one got which one?
Rolf Harris.
Rolf Harris. Yeah, I see people nodding. It was tough, wasn't it? It was tough because it was someone you admired when you were a kid. Oh, yes, exactly. You said Rolf Harris too. You said it with venom like you knew him personally. And he was a painter. Painters are meant to be safe. Other than Hitler, but generally. Now, did you paint? Did you paint along with him when you were a kid?
No.
No, you didn't. Did you? Next to him? Did you?
I used to watch him a lot.
You used to watch him, but you didn't paint.
I could never paint.
You never paint. You knew something was other than that. You're like. Okay. Any others? Rolf Harris. Any others?
Jimmy Savile.
Oh, Savile. Jimmy Savile. Now look, I'll tell you the truth. I'm not British, okay? And I'm sure my Namibian friend can be there with me. So I didn't grow up with this man. But when the story came out, I looked in the newspaper. I looked and I was like, how did you not know? British people, he was advertising. If you got 50 people and said, draw a nonce, that's what would come out. Did you write him a letter when you were a kid? You did? Who said I did?
I did.
Oh my gosh, now did he answer any of your letters?
No.
Lucky you. Do you remember what your letter was about?
Yeah.
What was your letter about?
To dance with Danny Minogue.
To dance with Danny Minogue. Oh, you never got to dance with Danny Minogue. But look, my name's Daliso Japonda. You can dance with me. Like that. Daliso! That's what we'll do. I'll find you after the show. And then did you write a letter? You remember what your letter was about?
About the big house that a lot of
You wanted a big house? You were like a practical child. You're like Danny Minogue, you're like a mortgage. Wonderful. Now, well, so that was another one. And then I'll take like one more. Any others that surprised or bothered people recently?
Fred the Weatherman.
Okay, wait, so two people, so I'll do both of them. So Fred the Weatherman.
Fred the Weatherman.
I actually don't know Fred the Weatherman. I've been doing this tour since July, and I thought I had known all 48. done other stuff other than just saying, look at the
Clearly you
phone.
did, that's what
No! You have very low standards and you're actually a hero.
He went around talking
You've got
about
a
the
cartoon
plants.
with the hero Postman Pat. How is a postman? Like I grew up with He-Man. You're like Postman. Love it, love it. I love it. And then there was someone else who you said something at the same time. She said Fred the Weatherman. Stuart Hall. Holy crap. I needed to come to Troy to do my research because you did not mention any of the normal people. So, first of all, before I ask, is Stuart Hall really depressing? Oh dear. Well, I'm still curious. So tell me what happened. I probably won't do a joke. I'm just curious. What was he, first of all?
He was like a regional news presenter.
News reporter! You don't have... Your heroes are like the postman and news presenter. Okay, there's a news presenter.
He did a program called It's a Knockout.
Is a cock out?
And what do you think he got his cock out? And he knocked people out. Okay. No, you know what's funny about, you bring that one up, about people taking their cock out. I actually had one which really depressed me, right? Which was a comedian who I looked up to, a genius comedian. Clap your hands if you know Louis C.K. A few of you know him, a lot of you don't know him, but this guy was brilliant. In fact, you might know him without knowing him. Like he was in like cartoons sometimes doing voices, or he wrote scripts. But he's a very funny comedian. Brilliant. He was who I looked up to because his stand-up was on another level. His sitcom was so good. I looked up to him and I was shaping my life. I was like, I want to be the next Louis C.K. Then it came out that he had a thing for whipping his cock out. In front of random women and just... I don't know if the leg was... But it makes it difficult when you're a fan and you find out this thing about this person, right? Because, I don't know, it makes it difficult. I'll give you a perfect example. Like there's been a lot of controversy about Michael Jackson in the last 2 years. Now clap your hands, people who thought Michael Jackson was innocent. Clap. Okay. Clap your hands, people who think he's guilty. Clap your hands, people who have no idea. Now all the people who clapped who thought he was guilty. Clap your hands if you still listen to his music. It's hard to let go, isn't it? It's hard to let go. It's like, remember the time is a good song. You know what I mean? It's hard to let go. And
It's my baby girl.
yeah, it's so good. The music's so good. And this is the problem. So this is the thing. I'm like, Louis C.K., I don't necessarily condone what he did, right? I'm not. But if I go watch his shows, because he's still on tour, am I saying that it's okay? Now some of you may say, why are we judging him for just public ranking? Who cares? No, if that's his fetish, that's his thing. But it was more complicated than that because he would ask women. He would say, hey, can I? And then and some of the people who were asking were people who worked for him. So there's all kinds of sexual harassment implications and stuff like that. And so I'm like, if I support him, am I condoning everything he did? And then you start looking at all of your, the DVDs you own. You're like, can I still watch these? Can I still listen to this? I don't know. And then there's another thing I have to consider. As I told you, he's brilliant. He's funnier than me. And sometimes I have to wonder, does that make you funnier? Does public ranking make you funnier? We don't know. No one's done a study. I auditioned to do Live at the Apollo last year. They said no. So maybe this year I need to just get a little extra. Now I make jokes, right? Because it's something that makes me uncomfortable, right? It's something that bothers me. That's how I cope, right? And the truth is, though, it's not so difficult when someone gets in trouble for something we all agree is wrong. Like, Bill Cosby gets in trouble, drugging women, goes to prison. There's no argument. No one's defending him because it was a horrible thing he was doing. Louis C.K. gets in trouble. No one's defending what he did. But it's more complicated because some of the people who've got in trouble and have got blacklisted or lost their careers, it's not for stuff which they did, which is criminal, for stuff which they said, right? And that's much harder because people get in trouble for saying politically incorrect stuff or off-color jokes. Like Jo Brand got in trouble last year. Essentially, she did a joke about throwing acid in the faces of some right-wing politicians she didn't like. got very in trouble. Now, she wasn't like imprisoned or anything, but at the same time, she's not been on radio or TV recently, you know what I mean? So it had a clear effect on her career. Other people get in trouble. It's not all people I like. Sometimes people I dislike. Katie Hopkins, right? Has pissed me off many a time. But recently, she was removed off Twitter and Facebook for hate speech, right? And at first I was like, yeah, and then I was like, wait a second. I say some pretty crazy shit. You know what I mean? They could come after me and remove my stuff. It makes you wonder about these things, right? And then also, loads of white people have been losing their jobs for posting racist stuff on the internet. Looking around the room, it's like mostly white faces. You are all in danger! Are you scared? Are you scared, man? I'm telling you, if I was white, I would delete my phone. I would delete Twitter. How can you walk around with something that can get you unemployed? Now, I don't want this to happen, right? I figure you paid your money. You paid your money. So I'm going to give something back. I've come up with a few tips for the white people. Now, Namibia, you can ignore this bit, okay? Tweet what you like, tweet what you like. There's one other black person there, you can go and tweet what you like, okay? This is us helping the white people. If I miss anything, feel free to put up your hand and say, give them this tip as well. Okay, so these are just tips, strictly for social media. If you're white and tweeting about a brown person on social media and you don't want to lose your job, tip number 1, stay away from the zoo. Yeah. Don't mention anything related to a zoo. Don't mention giraffes or monkeys or lions. It's a bank holiday. The zoo is closed. Tip number 2. If you see a post about Black History Month or something, right? Black Awards or Black History Month, and you find yourself thinking, why did they get a month? Why do they get a whole month? I've got history too. When's White History Month? Just remember, all the other months are yours. You got them covered. You got them. Especially December. There's snow, there's eggnog. They call it a white Christmas, okay? The third one I didn't even know was necessary, right? But I had to add this one around November last year because the Prime Minister of Canada got in trouble. I didn't even know people still did this right now. This is the tip. If you're white and you're going to a costume party, and you can't find a costume, and you're looking around saying, that needs dry cleaning, that's dirty, what do I wear, and then you think to yourself, I could save money and paint my face. You can paint your face, it's a free country, no one's going to stop you can paint your face, but for the love of God, go pastel. Just orange or blue, you can't offend a Smurf. But I'm not angry, right? I do these jokes, and some people always say, everyone's so sensitive nowadays, right? Everyone's so you can't say anything anymore, people are so angry. I don't know anyone who gets angry at this stuff, right? Even if you find it offensive, you're not angry, you're just like, what a dick, right? You don't really get that bothered. If anything, I get amused, right? Not by the stuff people post, but the way they defend themselves, because sometimes it's hilarious. Like, do you remember when Danny Baker got in trouble last year? If you don't remember this. Yeah. Danny Baker, BBC broadcaster, royal baby is born, Meghan Markle has a child. Child is mixed race. He decides to represent this child on social media with a picture of a chimpanzee. He did not listen to Daliso's rule number 1. Stay away from the zoo. A lot of people started arguing. Half the people were saying, this is not offensive. It's a cute chimpanzee. Just a chimpanzee, nothing wrong with it. Other people are like, this is so offensive. Do you know how black people have been yelled monkey sounds, used to abuse it? No, it's just harmless. And then he lost his job. And I'll tell you what's interesting. I don't think he had to lose his job. Because other people have tweeted worse than him, said worse than him, kept their job. Like Anne-Marie Morris said the N-word in Parliament, kept her job. Difference is she apologized properly. Danny Baker's apology was very weird. He began his apology with, you guys are sick in the head. You are sick in the head to think that I did that on purpose. But if I offended you, I'm sorry. And I'm like, whoa, that's not enough. That's like, if anybody, God forbid, gets in trouble, you got to apologize the way you'd apologize to your wife. Right? Even if you didn't know what you've done wrong, right? You wouldn't start it with, you are sick in the head. But if you're pissed off, I'm sorry. And then also the other thing, he was defending himself. You've also got to just admit, maybe I did something, but he was just defending himself. Look, you guys are all wrong. There's not a racist bone in my body. And I was reading this like, that's not how racism works. It's not a bone thing. I've never heard of an A&E doctor looking at an X-ray and going, give me the second opinion on this one. I think his elbow hates Pakistani. I think that's also part of the problem. People want it to be so simple, right? They want it to be people who are racist and people who are not racist. You often hear people say, well, I'm not a racist. Trump loves this. I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. I believe him. You're not racist. Of course you're not. Like, yeah, you say African countries are shitholes, but you're not racist. I don't think he's a racist. I don't think I've ever met a racist. Because no one's racist all the time. No one wakes up, eats their porridge in a racist way. Why are there black spots in it? Walks to work, spits on a Chinese person, kicks a black person. It's not realistic. That's not the world. People are complicated. You could be someone who's like, for equal rights, right? Got a few black friends, but at the same time, maybe your sense of humor is racist, right? We're all complicated people. You could be someone, like I'm complicated. Like I like to think that I'm pro-feminism, right? I like to believe in equal rights, equal pay for women. I like to always think of myself as a very supportive man who's for feminism, but at the same time, I'm complicated. If you took a close look at my internet search history, I think there are a number of websites I do not think I could defend. Because we are complicated people. And also, we all react to things differently. Like my reaction to Liam Neeson might even surprise some of you. Do you remember this last year? Liam Neeson got in trouble. He just told us, no one asked him, right? He just told us that 40 years ago, a friend of his was assaulted by a black man. He was full of rage. So he began to prowl the streets of Ireland, looking for a black man to kill. Oh, this should have bothered me, but I literally read it like, Liam Neeson walking the streets of Ireland to kill a black man. I would watch that movie. But I don't think I care. I'll be honest, I don't care. Number one, it's stuff that's going on in his head. Also, it's 40 years ago and it was a fantasy. Who knows if he would actually have followed through? Maybe it would have been like, I'm going to kill a black man. I'm going to kill, this guy's really big, okay. Also, he's an actor. One, he regrets it, but even if he was racist right now, I don't think I care what's going on in his head. I can watch an actor and not agree with him. Now, it's interesting, some people I know care about things like that. Like, I've got a friend, loved Morrissey's music, loved it. And then he started expressing political views which she found horrible. Can't watch it anymore. Can't listen to him. I was like, I don't know if I care. I think part of the reason I have a kind of weird reaction to this is because of a friend of mine. I have a friend who passed away. He's a comedian called Greg. A lot of you wouldn't necessarily know him. He wasn't famous. But last 2 years of his life, he wasn't really a comedian anymore because no one would hire him. Turned out he was a big member of the English Defense League. Now, do you all know the English Defense League? Yeah. Clap your hands if you don't know them. Okay, one or two people don't know them. You don't know English. Now, are you English? They're just young. They're just young. Oh, yeah. So they're not as big as they used to be. So, how would you even describe them? Like a right wing? I don't even know if it's right wing. It's just a group who doesn't like certain foreigners.
Yeah, racist bunch of idiots.
That she said. That she said. I didn't know if some of them are in the room. I was just checking. Right. Don't say sorry. No. So essentially, there was a group. He was a big member of this group, and his social media was full of like vile things. He was saying, hey, throw them in the ocean, all kinds of stuff, just kind of really racist stuff. And people took screenshots, sent it to the comedy clubs, no one would hire him. And I kind of felt weird about it. Because on the one hand, I hated his viewpoints. I didn't agree with him anything. We used to argue on the way to gigs, right? I'd be yelling at him. I'd be saying, "You're an ignorant bastard." He'd be saying, "You're naive. They're going to come and take over." It was crazy. Then we'd get to the gig, have a drink, and that would be that. And on stage, he never brought up any of his politics. He just told knob gags. So I always thought it was a bit weird that he now wasn't able to perform not for what he did on stage, but for his viewpoints off stage. You know what I mean? If he didn't have a Twitter account, he'd still have a job, right? And I always felt weird about that. What do you think? Do you think people who say racist things should still be able to work? Got some nods, we've got some shakes. I've made it. Depends, yeah, depends. Okay, let's make it more practical. You're right. So clap your hands, people who run businesses. Clap if you run a business. Oh, got a few. Okay, so we'll start there, then we'll go there, then we'll go there. So we'll start with you, sir. Hello, sir. What's your name? Cameron. Cameron. Now, what's your business, Cameron?
I own a cocktail bar.
You own a cocktail bar. Okay. So, you employ bartenders, I guess cocktail, what do they call them, the people who make fancy cocktails? Just bartender? Okay, so bartender comes in, right? He's like a KKK member, right? He's a KKK member, but he makes like mean cocktails. He can flip them in the air, he can do whatever he wants, but he even has this thing where he gets two toothpicks, puts them in the shape of a cross and lights it on fire. Okay, so this a racist guy, would you hire them to work at your cocktail bar?
As long as they're not racist in work.
As long as they're not racist in work. As long as they keep their racism to recreational activities. Okay, makes sense. Good. There was a business over here. The business here. What's your business? You're an accountant. Okay. Let's stick with the KKK. So KKK has decided to open in the UK, right? They feel there's a void. There's a void because you got rid of like the EBL, you got rid of the National Front. They're like, come on, man. There's a market which can be expanded into, but they need accounting, right? Because they hate black people, but they hate the IRS even more. The HMRC. See, the joke would have been better if I just used the right reference. Doesn't matter. That's just my own brain. Okay, but would you be the accountant for these racist companies? No, you just say no. Okay, perfect. And then the third person over there. There was another business. Clap your hands again, businesses. It's funny. Now that you know that their questions involved, there's been a recession. But there was one who bravely clapped somewhere over there. Yes, you. What's your business, ma'am?
It's called Fun Science. I do
Fun Science.
Yeah, science parties and
Science parties.
Yeah.
For children.
Shows, yeah, generally, sometimes adults.
Yeah, actually, I think I already know the answer for yours. Like, would you employ like a racist? No, it's because kids are involved. It's too important, right?
Yeah, also I think there's a difference between, like, if you found out someone was racist afterwards.
Oh, so if they already had the job, and then you found out they were racist, you wouldn't necessarily fire them?
It would depend what it was, but it'd be harder to fire them than...
I think she's right, I think she's right, because you've really stuck with them.
I think my job, yes, I would, but if something...
This isn't part of my show, but I'm now starting to think, imagine I was dating someone. You'd been having a relationship with someone for a year, and then you found out they were racist. What would you do? What would you do? Run! But what if she was really hot? No, I love thinking about these things, but I think actually I'm somewhere in between all of you, right? Because I think I agree with you who said it depends what they're doing, right? Because I think there's some jobs which are too important to have someone racist. Like you guys are teachers, you better not be racist. You're too important. Yeah, teachers are too important to have a racist teacher. You don't want a racist teacher. Also, you don't want a racist in government. But there's some jobs which I don't care. Like I couldn't care less if my plumber is racist. All I care about when it's plumbing is the price. If we have a beautiful human being who is literally Mandela meets Gandhi, charging me 200 quid, racist bastard bastard charging 80 quid. I'm paying 80 quid. He could even be swearing at me while fixing my bike. Well, you black bastard, go back to Africa. Well, I'm going back to Africa with 120 quid. I think I'm too practical, and I think it's all because I'm a bit older now. Like I'm just hit 40. I remember in my 20s I was full of idealism, and I was also very extreme. Like if I found someone being intolerant on the internet, I would spend like 2 hours yelling at them. Now I'm just like, yeah, just be wrong. Yeah. You lose patience for that kind of stuff. I used to protest stuff. Right? I used to go to protests. Last year I wanted to go to a climate change protest. I woke up, it was cold outside, I was like, wait for it to warm up. And I wish I was more passionate because I feel like I've got the responsibility now because I'm now on a list. There's a list of D-list, E-list black celebrities you might not even know, but you'll realize it once I tell you this. Every time someone does something racially dubious, right? Every time someone makes a stupid mistake, right? Or tweets something that's ridiculous, like, Danny Baker or something like that, the next morning on all of the morning shows, TV and radio, there's going to be one token black person to have a chat. And when they started calling me, I was like, why are you calling me? I've not written any books on race. I've not got a PhD in race relations, and I think the way it must happen is like this. They're in studio having an argument. One of them's like, this is racist. No, it's just a cute chimpanzee. It's not racist. No, it's racist. And they're like, this is an interesting discussion. Why don't we have it tomorrow morning on the news? And then they look around and they're like, one problem. All of our anchors are white. We can't have 4 white people discuss race. Bring in someone brown. One of them's really ambitious. It's like, let's get Idris Elba. We can't get Idris Elba. He's got stuff to do. We need someone who hasn't got stuff to do. And then one of them's like, who would be great? Who would make for a stimulating discussion? Why don't we get that MP who's always banging on about race? Let's get that David Lamy guy. No, he's too angry. We need a happy one. And they don't tell you you're coming into studio to discuss race because you'd say no. Who wants to do that? I would say no. No. They say, hey, you're on tour. Why didn't you come in studio and discuss your tour? Oh, and they got me. They got me doing the world tour. You remember when Lord Sugar did a tweet about the Senegalese football team. If you don't remember, essentially it was a picture of the Senegalese football team superimposed with slippers and watches, and he wrote above it, I think I recognize these guys from a beach in Marbella. It was a silly joke based on the premise black people all look alike. Some people thought it was harmless, some people thought it was horrible. Now, I get called by Good Morning Britain to come and promote my tour. I should have known something was fishy. I should have known because in my silly head, I should have looked at the list of the other guests. The other guests were Pamela Anderson, Danny Dyer, and Jeremy Corbyn. What the hell was I doing on that? I went in like an idiot. I must be famous now. I sit down, waiting to talk about my tour. It did not come up. Piers Morgan looked at me and asked me one question. Did you think Lord Sugar's tweet was racist? I said no, and then they moved on. And when I look back at it, it was probably the wrong person to call. Actually, I was a worse person to call. They probably would have got a better answer from like a white person, because the truth is, you can't ask a comedian what's offensive. I write more offensive stuff than that before breakfast. You can't ask me, right? It's like watching a horror movie with a surgeon and saying, do you think there's too much blood in this? But I went home and I got all kinds of abuse, right, on the internet. Now, I expect abuse on the internet. It's just the way it is. It's part of it. Like, when I did Britain's Got Talent, I got loads of abuse, because at the time, the crowd was like this. It was like predominantly white. And I just said 200 years ago, this would have been an auction. It's a funny joke. I think it's perfectly acceptable. I did this joke, and I got 2 years of abuse. Because every now and then, someone else will discover it and send me a bit, and it's always like, oh, black comedian, how original, banging on about slavery. If you don't like the slavery, go back to Africa, monkey man. And I'll read this and I'll be like, I don't think this man